How's it going, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? This is Jeff Benjamin with 9to5Mac. This is episode number 2 of Back to the Mac. No, I still don't have a haircut, but despite that, I think you still may enjoy this episode where we talk about some of my favorite Mac software. Now, these aren't just the so-called best apps for the Mac, but these are apps that I actually use on a day in, day out basis on my personal Mac. So hope you enjoy this brief synopsis, well, not exactly brief, but hope you enjoyed this synopsis of some of my favorite Mac apps on what I'm calling What's on My Mac? Okay, let's move on. Alfred 3 is perhaps the one app that I could not imagine myself using my Mac without. In fact, I'm getting a little emotional talking about it. No, I'm just kidding. Perhaps outside of Final Cut Pro 10 is an app that I could not see myself without on my Mac. Let me show you why. So I've outright replaced Spotlight Search using Alfred on my Mac, and I love it, because I can do things like this. I can search 9to5Mac with a single shortcut, just type the number 9 followed by my search query and press return, and there you go. So I can quickly search 9to5Mac just like that. And I have various other custom searches set up within Alfred. So that's really just the tip of the iceberg as to how I use this incredible utility. So let's go into the preferences and check out some of the other ways that I use this app. Number 1, you can set it up to sync between different Macs if you want to do that. You also have these custom themes that you can set up and configure to your liking. I have this black theme here. These are some of the default themes. You also have workflows, and I actually have a workflow to create custom affiliate links right there within Alfred. So super simple and easy. Obviously, there's the custom web search that I showed you earlier, so I have it set up for searching 9to5Mac and 9to5Mac's YouTube channel just with a couple of button presses or keyboard presses. There's also snippets, so you can actually use this thing to replace an app like Text Expander if you want to, and I use that all the time within Alfred. And like I said, that really is just the tip of the iceberg as far as the utility that this app brings to the table. It is absolutely indispensable in my workflow, and I love it. Affinity Photo, hands down, is my go-to, that was really weird. It's my go-to photo editing app for the Mac. I'm telling you, this can, for some people, be an outright Photoshop replacement. And what's wonderful about that is that there is no monthly subscription fee. It's one time you pay for it and you can use it perpetually. So it has different tools like, of course, the hand tool, selection tool. Of course, you have things like the healing brush. So very Photoshop-centric tool set that you'll find within Affinity Photo. And you also have tons of export options as well. So if you need to export, you can export it as a PNG, a JPEG, a GIF. Yes, I said GIF, TIFF, PSD, PDF, SVG, EPS, etc. So tons of export options there. And you also have a very verbose tutorial section. So there's video tutorials. Affinity even made a workbook. This is an actual textbook. Yes, like something you would use in a classroom to show you how to use Affinity Photo and become an Affinity Photo master. So you can really see how serious Seraph, the developer behind this app, is taking Affinity Photo. And I actually own the workbook for the companion app, Affinity Designer, which is sort of like an Adobe Illustrator replacement. And I can tell you from experience that it's wonderful. It is an upfront cost, obviously, $50 for the app, $50 for the workbook, but no subscription involved. I don't know what Instagram's problem is, but they refuse to make an app for anything else but mobile phones. Don't get it. Thankfully, there are third-party apps like Flume that really make it a pleasure to manage your Instagram account on a Mac. Instagram famously has still yet to create an iPad version of its app or a Mac version of its app. And that's sad, frankly. But Flume really does a great job. You can do pretty much anything, well, not anything, but you can do a lot that you can do in the normal Instagram app. Of course, you can reply to comments, you can like comments, you can view your timeline, you can switch between multiple accounts if you have the Pro version, you can post videos and photos if you have the Pro version. So you see where I'm going with this. You're gonna need the Pro version. It's about $10, but easily worth it and a big time saver for those of you who manage multiple Instagram accounts and want to be able to do so from the convenience of your desktop. And that is what really makes this app so cool. So again, easily being able to switch between multiple accounts, being able to use those keyboard shortcuts, being able to post directly from your Mac using super handy tools such as this one right here. So it automatically generates a preview. You can go in, write your caption for your photo or video. You can even automatically pull in hashtags from recently used hashtags if you want to do so. Very, very nice interface. It really takes advantage of all the features of the Instagram API. You can go in, add filters, and you can see those applied in real time. You can make adjustments, all that jazz, pretty much everything you would expect, or at least most of the things you would expect from a proper Instagram app. You can even change things like your cover photo for your videos. So I'm going to do so right here. I'll just at least show you how you can scroll through the video and find your ideal cover. And what's really nice about this is that as you're about to post, you can switch on the fly between accounts. So you can see I'm using my personal account, then I switched over to the 9to5Mac account, and I can post from that account if I want to. There are some obvious missing things like live video streaming and Instagram stories, but story support should be coming soon. Tweetbot is my go-to Twitter app for the Mac. Now, to be honest, I started using Tweetbot for Mac sort of as a default because I was already using Tweetbot on my iPhone, already using Tweetbot on my iPad. And with that in mind, I wanted something that was going to feel familiar on the Mac, something that was going to feel seamless, and Tweetbot for Mac lives up to that very well. You have syncing via iCloud, you have streaming with pin to top functionality, so you can just have it sitting there on your desktop. All your new tweets are going to come in automatically. That is definitely a good feature. And you also have these various columns you can set up, so you can have multiple columns for different lists, for your activity, for mentions, whatever the case may be. There's also tons of keyboard shortcuts, so if you're a power user who likes to use keyboard shortcuts, Tweetbot fits the bill quite nicely. CalcBot is my go-to calculator app for the Mac. Now at first glance, CalcBot may look like your standard calculator app, but as you use it, you'll notice that there are some pretty whimsical Tapbots-esque features built in. One of my favorite features though is the conversion system. So you have a conversion system that's built in and you can convert things like data, which I use often for my post on 9to5Mac or just for my own personal usage. For example, you can see here, you can translate terabytes to gigabits or whatever the case may be. And you can also favorite your results, and these sync between the iOS version and the Mac version, which is really cool, all via iCloud. And you can take those results and manipulate them in further ways. You can even, for instance, as I'm going to show you right here, right click and select use result, and that will paste it right into the result bar, or you can just drag it over there and use that with further calculations. PasteBot is my go-to pasting app for the Mac. You guys probably think I have some weird infatuation with the Tapbots by now, but I really don't. I just really like their apps. Okay, all right, I have a problem, but I'm working on it. So I use PasteBot for a variety of reasons. I use it, number one, as a clipboard manager, so I can save all my clips in there on the clipboard and access those. I also have additional clipboards or pasteboards that I can use and access via a handy keyboard shortcut to paste things that I often use throughout my workflow day to day. So for instance, asking people to subscribe to 9to5Mac's YouTube channel, hopefully you're subscribed now. I often paste that in my posts below my videos and other things that I have in there that I often need to paste. Now, that is just one area where PasteBot comes in handy. Let me show you something else. Sequential paste is ridiculously handy in certain situations. So if you need to copy and paste things in a particular order, say you're transcribing from one area to the next, notice what you can do here. You can copy sequentially and paste sequentially. Let me show you. This is all done with a keyboard shortcut. So we're going to paste the first item, the second item, the third item, fourth item, fifth item, and so on. Pretty awesome feature. Have you ever been frustrated when trying to move a file from one area of your Mac perhaps to a full screen app? It can be super frustrating. That's where Yoink comes in. It can facilitate file movement. File movement. I couldn't imagine trying to regularly move files on my Mac without it. Now, I've covered Yoink numerous times before, but let me just show you again why it's so useful. So basically, Yoink sets up a temporary holding area for various files on your Mac. So you can actually move multiple files into this holding area at once.
And then I can use that to move items to different areas on my Mac at my leisure. So if you're working with full screen apps where it's difficult to access the desktop and access your files without invoking things like mission control, then this can come in handy. For instance, you can see I can just go about my work, and then when I'm ready, I can move this file or multiple files over to their destination. So in this example, I'm moving this file over to Final Cut Pro's timeline.
HyperDock is like the unsung hero of my workflow, because it gives me these nice little previews. That right there, that's a preview. It gives you these nice little previews of your running apps in your dock, and it allows you to snap application windows to different areas of your screen.
I use HyperDock for a couple of reasons. The first reason is for its snapping feature, so I can use that to quickly snap windows just like that. Makes it super easy to organize your desktop when you have multiple windows and you want them all displayed simultaneously. But that's the first reason that I use HyperDock. Let me show you another reason why I use this app, and that is because of its preview capabilities that it offers running apps in your dock. Now, the reason why this is handy is because when I set up my new Mac for the first time, I always enable a particular option for the dock, and that is this one right here, minimize windows into application icon. By default, that is disabled. And let me show you what happens when that is disabled. So if I open up Tweetbot here and I minimize it, notice what happens. It moves over here next to the trash can so you can see the open running window associated with that app, but it also expands your dock, which I don't like. So if I enable that option, it minimizes the app into the app icon on your dock. Doesn't expand the dock, but you lose preview ability, so that's where HyperDock comes in.
Daisy Disk is a disk management utility that gives you a nice visual overview of your stored situation on Mac.
Although there are plenty of third-party apps and some built-in macOS provisions to help you to monitor your disk usage, to me, Daisy Disk is the best app for that because it is a visual app. It shows you visually how much space you're using. You can really see quickly where your space is being taken up on your Mac. For instance, here you have a half circle, so you know that it's taking up about half of your disk space, and then you can click in and view additional areas of your Mac, drill down, and as you do so, you can designate certain files for deletion. And then as you go through, you just designate all the files you want to delete, and at the end of the process, click the delete button to get rid of everything. And it's not just your main drive, but as you can see, you can go in and monitor and manage all of the disks connected to your Mac using Daisy Disk.
I recommended ISTAT menus to iMac Pro users, and while it's great for that, thanks to all the multi-core stuff, it's still very handy for even someone who's using a Mac Mini or a MacBook Air.
Now, like I said, I covered ISTAT menus on my previous iMac Pro software post, but I wanted to reiterate the fact that this isn't just an app that's beneficial for iMac Pro users. As you can see, you can customize the menu bar color, the borders, drop downs, all that. But like I was saying, this isn't just an app that's beneficial for Mac Pro users or iMac Pro users. You can be a MacBook Air user, a Mac Mini user, and still use this to your advantage to be able to monitor your system, monitor CPU usage. And obviously, it is very beneficial for Mac Pro users and iMac Pro users because of its ability to monitor all those cores, as you can see there, but still very handy for other users as well. So you can monitor your memory usage in a very visual way, monitor disk usage, network usage, and much more.
Now it's time to talk about the past week's news, and there really wasn't that much news related to the Mac. I guess the biggest news probably is the earnings call that Apple recently had, where they announced that they sold 5.1 million Macs the last quarter. And that's very similar to what it sold the quarter before. I think they sold like 5.3 or so million Macs in the previous quarter. And then in the year ago quarter, it sold a similar amount. So pretty much with regard to sales, the Mac is just doing what it does. Nothing spectacular, but still a decent clip. Another piece of news is that 18-core iMac Pros have finally begun arriving to customers. Jonathan Morrison got his hands on the 18-core iMac Pro, and he was very impressed with the performance when it came to multi-core and even single-core wasn't as bad as one would imagine. The Geekbench multi-core score for the 18-core iMac Pro is just insane, almost 50,000. So this isn't going to be a machine for everybody, but for those that need it and can benefit from those extra cores, it's a major win. And a few weeks ago, Apple released a major update to Logic Pro 10. Justin Kahn went hands-on with the new Chromaverb Reverb plugin, and he was very impressed. Super thorough write-up. Definitely check it out if you're interested in Logic Pro music production, or if you're already a Logic Pro user. So that is a roundup of this week's news. Not a whole lot to talk about, but still nonetheless some interesting morsels of news for the previous week.
So we have just a few quick unboxings for you guys. The first one is this right here, the Sonnet CFast 2.0 Pro Card Reader, dual CFast 2.0 slots. You can ingest data from both cards simultaneously at full speed thanks to Thunderbolt 3 connectivity, and it's bus powered, which is really great. I don't know, would you guys want to see a review of that? Let me know by leaving a thumbs up and commenting down below. Now we also have the TS3 Plus dock from CalDigit. I reviewed the previous version of this, the regular TS3 Lite, I believe that's what it was called. But this one has, as you can see right there, an SD card reader, yes. And not only just an SD card reader, but it's UHS-2 compatible. So you're gonna get those extra fast transfer speeds if you use a UHS-2 card, but tons of ports on this thing. We'll talk about this more later in the future, so stay tuned. And then lastly, this isn't really Mac related, but you know, I guess I can do unboxings for everything that I'm going to be reviewing and covering in the future. So if you guys like that, leave me a thumbs up, let me know. But this is the VocaLink HomeKit enabled power strip. So I have the power strip, and then I have a single plug as well. Trying to get ready for the HomePod launch so I can say, hey Siri, turn off whatever's connected to these devices, and Siri will do her thing.
Okay, so here's the part of the video you've been waiting for. Hopefully you didn't just skip everything else and come right to this part of the video to see who won the giveaway, but I understand if you did. So we're gonna pick somebody at random here. I saw a comment that stood out to me. I don't know why, but it did. And I'm gonna choose Rob5 Standing By. Rob5 Standing By. So if you're watching this, congratulations, you won our $50 iTunes gift card. Here is what he had to say. He says, I like the walnut side of the high rise. Nice video. Hey, it works for me. Check for your DM later on today. I will be DMing you with that iTunes gift card code. Now, of course, that's not the end. We do have an additional giveaway. We'll be doing a new giveaway every week. This time we partnered with Seraph, who makes Affinity Photo, which we talked about earlier. Seraph has agreed to give away a copy of Affinity Photo, but not just that, they've also agreed to give away the Affinity Photo version of their workbook, which is super cool. So if you want to win, same deal as last time. Number one, follow us on Instagram. If you're already following, you're already half or third of the way there, I guess. Like the post for Back to the Mac episode number 2. And then 3, I want you to tell me why you would like Affinity Photo and the workbook. What would you use Affinity Photo for? Let me know in the comments for the post on Instagram. So for the final part of Back to the Mac episode number 2, we have our Q&A session, which is real, like these are actual questions that you guys asked. I didn't make them up. The first one is from TC Connor. He says, hey Jeff, great video. Will the Saatchi aluminum Type-C clamp hub Pro work with my late 2015 27-inch iMac 5K Retina display? I'm not sure if it'll actually fit underneath, you know, with the clamp and all that, but one thing that your iMac does not have is Thunderbolt 3. Now this does use USB Type-C, so you don't technically need Thunderbolt 3, but that iMac doesn't have USB Type-C ports. So that is something to keep in mind. And I still don't know if the clamps underneath will work on that 2015 iMac. Does anyone else know? Let me know down below in the comments. If it does work with the clamp, you could just use some sort of adapter to go from USB Type-C, and that would technically work. But kind of jumping through some hoops there already. Our next question is from Kalyan. Hopefully I pronounced your name right. He says, can I know which eGPUs are compatible with the 13-inch MacBook Pro 2016? You know, you have like the Mantis Venus, you have the Akitio Node, there are some others out there, but I just could not recommend an eGPU at this point. Apple is going to be making some improvements with their eGPU support this spring, hopefully. And after that, then I'll be able to recommend more confidently as to which external graphics box you should choose. Now, as far as the one I like right now, I do like the Mantis Venus just because it has so many different options. You have a SATA connection inside, you have USB ports, all that. But I also like the Akitio Node Pro, which we recently reviewed as well. So if you want more information on either of those, just click the little, there'll be a link somewhere, all right? So just click that link. And then finally, our next question is from David. He says, see you next Tuesday. Are you using 10 gigabit Ethernet for something different than internet or a plain storage server? You know, that's a good question. Actually, something just arrived today I'm really excited about. 10 gigabit Ethernet Synology NAS. So I plan on testing that out with Final Cut Pro 10 to see how it performs and see if I can use that as an external storage device for all of my Final Cut Pro 10 libraries. And that would be a huge win because with Ethernet, I can just use, you know, a Cat 6A cable. With that, you can actually, the cable can be long enough to move that out of my office area, so there would be zero noise. With 10 gigabit Ethernet, you're just using Ethernet cable. You can run Ethernet jacks in the wall, run the cable through the ceilings, whatever you need to do, and really customize your setup and still have that pretty nice speed. So I look forward to testing that out. It actually just arrived today, so we'll probably be unboxing that next episode. Stay tuned. So ladies and gentlemen, that is the conclusion of this episode of Back to the Mac. I know it was a little lengthy. If you made it to the end, congratulations again. If you have any suggestions or questions or anything, please let me know down below in the comments. And again, if you want to have a question answered in our QA session, just use the hashtag back, BACKTO, the Mac. So last time I forgot the 2. I don't know how I did that. So again, this is Jeff Benjamin with 9to5Mac. I will catch you next Tuesday.